ugly again, and I know we touched on it last week with the VAR decisions made in the Tottenham Liverpool match, which were disgraceful. Uh, we're once again talking about refereeing in the Prem, and it's becoming more and more obvious that something needs to change because I don't know if either of you watched the Arsenal match.
Hmm.
Kovacic put in a tackle on Declan Rice. No, the first tackle was on Odegaard, I think.
No, I think it was first Rice and then Odegaard.
No,
Was
I
it?
think it
Okay.
was first
Okay.
Odegaard. Yeah, first tackle's on
Oh
Odegaard.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right.
Uh, Looked like a red on slow motion replay. The ref gave a yellow. They checked. They went for a check, and the wording I think is if it goes to a check, it has to be a clear and obvious error to allow the referee to go to the screen for a second look. He obviously, the VAR ref, looking at it, obviously didn't think it was a clear and obvious error. And then, so that one he was let off, a yellow play on, whatever. 2 minutes later, he comes in on Rice, studs up again, 100% stonewall yellow. But for some reason, you cannot review fouls unless they're red cards.
Hmm.
So there wasn't even an option to VAR that one. The ref saw it on the pitch and made his decision on the pitch. And it begs the question, and actually there was a third incident that not as many people were talking about in the Liverpool game, where Szoboszlai gets pulled down for a penalty. By the rule of the law, if they're giving the penalty there, the man who pulled him down was the last man, and it should have been a straight red card. If you're giving the penalty, then you have to follow the rule of the law. It should have been a straight red. And that was also not reviewed and also not given. So that's three decisions. And I just want to, first of all, the quality of the refereeing needs to be bringing into question. But secondly, they need to go look at the definitions around how they're using VAR because you can't say a clear and obvious error because that leaves so much gray area.
Yeah.
Like, if clearly it was a debatable red on the first tackle on Odegaard by Kovacic, the guy upstairs needs to look at it and say, look, this looks pretty close. Like that was a pretty bad tackle. Maybe you didn't make a clear and obvious error, but maybe you should just come take a second look. Maybe you need this in slow motion. Just take a second look. If you still think it's a yellow after that second look, all good.
Hmm.
But because the verbiage is clear and obvious, and it wasn't a clear and obvious error, he didn't go and check. And then on the second one, why can't you review other fouls on the pitch? Like a yellow can be just as consequential as a red. And if, a standard foul should have been a yellow, have the guy review it and give the yellow. I know, okay, then it begs in the question, oh, you're reviewing everything. But
Yeah.
that's what you get with VAR. That's what you get. So,
But that's what I was going to chime in and say. That is the problem if you open that kind of webs. Now, look, listen, I kind of agree with where you're going with what you're saying. It's just that if you are going to start stopping the game for every and analyzing every single, so it has to be clear and obvious.
but I mean, there's a lot of options to sort it out. They don't have to stop the game at all times. The ref upstairs can just be reviewing the incident, and then okay, if the game's going on, and then
And then
if
they
he
and then they
says yeah, then
bring
he
it
brings it
and
back.
then
Like
bring it back. Yeah,
there's a lot. If you're gonna implement video, you can't half-ass implement it because
Exactly.
that's what you get. You just get a
Exactly.
ton of gray area and bullshit. You need to embrace it and develop a proper system. Like every other sport has done it,
Exactly.
and even when we were watching, we were talking about the offside decision. You're watching the Champions League. They're using like some bird's eye technology. I think it's the same technology they use for tennis to call the ins
Well,
and outs.
they used it for the World Cup as well, semi-automated
Yeah.
offsides.
And then for some reason, the Prem, you have some guy with his mouse drawing,
Well,
like, okay, pause the video now. Now, frame for frame. Now.
what's
And then,
even
like, dragging a line. It's like, what the fuck is this shit? Like,
what's even worse is that the Prem were offered that technology because it's been used in the Champions League and the World Cup.
and why
Have you
is
seen it? Like the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
semi-automated one,
yeah, yeah.
and the Prem rejected it. Don't know the reasons why, but they did. But we talked about it last week. Like the Prem is the best league in the world, hands down. Why are we not using the latest technology? Why are we not using all the tools that are available out there to give the best type of product out?
I think it's because the English fans are probably more less reluctant, like more reluctant than any
But
other
who?
fans.
No, but
But this
mate,
technology is just good technology. It
exactly.
I'm
just
not denying
It
it. I
doesn't.
just think it.
It just makes everything more accurate.
Yeah,
think
You already
about
have goal line technology. I mean, sorry, offside. They're already drawing the lines.
yeah,
Why not use a better technology that's quicker and
yeah,
more? It's semi-automated, so there's still people involved, but
yeah,
it's semi-automated, right?
But
yeah,
the thing with that one too, like when it shows the offside, it shows you down the line the body part across the line or not across the line.
Exactly.
Whereas with the one they use in the Prem, the angle is like, oh, sometimes it's at a
yeah.
diagonal angle,
Yeah. It looks.
and then the lines and like people are like, oh, but that wasn't at the right angle. Look at like his, oh, the ball's not off his face. It's just so like
The
simple.
semi-automated one shows like an actual
Yeah, like a
a
wall.
virtual wall that they
Yeah,
Yeah.
build, and it shows
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
body
I
part
mean, it
going
makes
through
complete
it.
sense. I know. I've seen it, and it should be
And like
definitely
when
implemented.
fans are in the stadium, they see that they're like, oh, well,
I know,
nothing to say, you
I know
know.
you're saying that are reluctant to him. I don't think fans are reluctant. Like fans have been complaining about it for so long, right? We just want consistency,
Yeah,
right? VAR, Pochettino said it. Like he's like, I trust the car, but not the driver.
yeah, yeah,
VAR is great,
Yeah.
right? It's just being implemented so poorly. The refs are obviously super poor,
yeah,
and obviously the keyword is consistency
yeah.
because like Julian just said, for example, the Curtis Jones one where he slipped on the ball against Spurs and then into Basuma's shin.
Yeah,
They went and reviewed it, blah, 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 gave him the red card, right? Here, it's an on purpose thing. Kovacic slid studs up first straight into the guy's ankle.
yeah,
Where's the consistency? There's
mm,
no consistency
mm,
whatsoever.
yeah. You're right.
And I think Jules is right. They need to maybe alter the rules and the laws of the game where it's more clear cut. Of course, there's always going to be interpretation depending on the ref, but there shouldn't be this lack of consistency.
Yeah.
I don't follow much of any other sports anymore, but when I did, there was a lot more consistency in the refs for sure, and even in other football leagues as well, like other soccer leagues,
Yeah.
it's way more consistent. Why is the Prem one of the worst?
You know, did you see Merce? I can't remember. He's retired now. He was on Soccer
Mike
Saturday.
with Mike Dean.
Mike Dean.
Yeah,
Do you see that? Yeah.
yeah, I did.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
I mean, like, but that just sums up what you guys are saying. They need to change the letter of the law,
Yeah,
right? Of saying, oh, you just want to bring it back for the sake of it. And Merce was like, for the sake of it, for the sake of it.
yeah,
It was onside.
yeah.
Just going back to that the Liverpool blunder, and they always protect themselves and fall back of the letter of the law. Well, the letter of the law needs to be changed.
No, I was just like I totally agree, and I think when they implemented VAR, it was still seen as kind of like, oh, it's something that supports the refs, supports the refs for making the right decision. They need to implement it in a way, review all the verbiage and everything of all the rules to make it the primary decision making system and do proper training with the refs to say, listen, great, your eye is your eye, but this is a slow motion replay that has no doubt in anyone's mind what has occurred. So now you're going to be depending on this system to make calls. We're not trusting your eyes anymore because mistakes are rampant. So we've stopped trusting your eyes. Now you go and you look at the screen, or you get the guy upstairs to tell you to look at the screen, or he looks at the screen and tells you the decision,
Hmm.
whatever it may be. We're trusting this over your eyes because it's always going to be a better decision when you have technology involved and a slow motion replay where you can see the action. I know everyone says, oh, at full speed it looks different, whatever. But whatever your argument is, you'll get way more correct decisions doing it that way than you do like, oh, okay, the ref will make the call on the field, and then like if he feels he made a mistake or he needs some support, he can go and look at it. That's
How
not how it should be.
how would you handle them bringing it back? Question to both of you, especially you, because it was your team that happened to. It was onside. They realised they made a mistake, and you can change the letter of the law where you can bring the game back, right? But do you just stop the game as maybe the other team are on a counter and they're about to score, and you just stop the game, or do you wait until the ball goes out and then you bring it back? And then does that referee need to make the decision, or the decision's already made? Do you know what I mean?
So
It can be. You can see how it's quite
no,
complicated,
it's only complicated if people make it complicated. So if that goal stood, the play wouldn't have continued, right?
right?
So you stop the play and it's done. Or if the ball goes out, you heard the
Yeah,
audio.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like they realize they made a mistake very quickly. Like
Yeah.
it's not going to take that long to realize that you've made a mistake, right?
Mm.
And that doesn't happen that often. Like offside should be black and white. That's why they should. I'm sure they will next season because of the criticism. They'll bring the semi-automated system in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But just forget about the offsides. It's just in general the consistency is not there.
Mm.
Um, like like I said, the example of the Man City game, right? Somebody's going slide tackle first, studs up, that should be a red. But in another game, it is a red. You know what I mean? There just needs to be way more consistency. Refs need better training, and they've been saying it for years before the VAR even got introduced. By the way, refs have always been criticized, especially in the Prem.
But that's how you create consistency and you eliminate the human
Human error,
element.
yeah, the
It's
human
because,
error.
yeah, every ref has like a different interpretation of the rules. Whereas a computer,
Hmm.
I know as robotic and like whatever, you can argue, oh, it's not traditional, there's a human element to sports. It's like there is a human element but when there's billions of dollars on the line, the call has to be correct, and the computer is always going to make a better call than some guy on the pitch who saw it from like 30 yards away
And
from a covered angle, and he's like,
I've seen like fans comment like, "Oh, it's always been like this." That's great, but every sport has evolved. Even
oh.
soccer's evolved so much. Like goal line technology.
Mm.
Think about the England.
The
Think about
English,
the
yeah.
England Germany
No,
game.
I actually think the majority of football fans in England now have got on board with VAR. I think they have. The issue is, this is exactly what you guys are
It's the
saying. They
implementation and
need to
consistency.
implement it and apply it correctly, so it doesn't take the emotion out of the game. So it doesn't, if they're using it properly, they can still have you can still have the best of both worlds. You
You
keep the
can.
emotion, keep the fluidity of football, and yeah, and just having correct decision after correct decision.
You can have like it happens in hockey as well. The play continues to go on while the review is happening upstairs, and then if the call needs to be changed, the ref
They
blows the
just
whistle and
straight
says,
away.
"Okay, stop. The call's been reviewed. I'm just going to go talk." He talks. Okay, yeah, we're changing the call. We're giving a goal, and then they check the time when the goal was given, and they bring the game back to that time.
Yeah.
In football, they can add time
Yeah.
at the end of the
Or
half or
like
whatever
the
it may be.
decision's already made. That's when they tell them to stop the game, rather than stopping the game because they might be having a counter
Exactly.
at
Yeah,
that
yeah.
point
Let the game continue, and then they're reviewing it.
until they know it's 100% what the call is. So we made a mistake. Stop the game. It's red or it's this or it's that.
They can't make VAR a supporting actor anymore. It has to be the primary way of making correct decisions.
And you can show it to the fans as well. You can have the audio playing when they're like, oh, we had to review the decision, and the ref can give an explanation really quickly, or the screen can be showing the
Yeah,
replays, and the decision's like pulling back for actual onside goal.
yeah, yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
just so easy. It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
that
yeah.
difficult.
And
That's important. Is
It's
to
2023. Like
bring it
it's
to bring in the fans of what's going on as well.
yeah,
well, and that one of the sports that has probably the highest quality refereeing in any sport is rugby. Everyone respects the referees, which would be great in football because it's a disgrace
yeah.
how some players act towards the ref.
Yeah,
Secondly, the ref has nowhere to hide. When he's making a decision, he has a mic, he has to turn that on and verbalize the decision to everyone in the stadium.
yeah,
So he has nowhere to hide. So he has to I mean, you can't throw people into that right away. You have to train them, but he has to verbalize his decision making so that everyone in the stadium can hear, and he can be held accountable for what he's doing.
yeah.
And I think if
So
you see
it's a good point. I think if they did implement that into football, they'll be very well. I think it's just all eyes are on you really, so you're just more careful.
And another like kind of added side bonus to that is when players come and speak to the ref, they know his mic is on,
Yeah, so
so
they'll get
they limit what they say, or else they're going to be found
yeah
out
they'll
as
get
well.
fined.
So
Yeah.
yeah, just another horrible weekend for refing in the Prem, and it shouldn't be a conversation this often, especially when you're talking about the best league in the world. So
There
um,
we are.